I just watched Rush Hour, so come on, Jackie, you got a vibe. You got a vibe. He doesn't say that, but something like that. Oh, Shimon. Shimon, Jackie, Shimon. Shimon. Hey guys, it's Amesh.
I'm a Silva.
And today we're reviewing Dave's latest album, We're All Alone in This Together. Sad. So, Dave, also known as Santan Dave, is a 23-year-old rapper from Streatham. We're All Alone in This Together is his second studio album, the first being Psychodrama.
He really hit the mainstream with Psychodrama, and a lot of people loved it. I actually wasn't a huge fan.
Shut your face! Shut your face! That is the best album. No, I'm joking. No, it was. You didn't like it, but I liked it.
Yeah.
I thought it had a really good narrative. I liked the whole kind of psychiatrist kind of dynamic he had in it. I think I liked it because it was a lot deeper than a lot of the UK rap albums that were coming out at the time. So it's just like refreshingly woke.
The issues I had with it, which I think are largely actually resolved on this album, were the beats. I just thought they were really bland a lot of the time.
Oh damn.
And his flows, like I was tired of his flows, or lack of. On this album, I feel like the production's way better.
Cool.
And
what do you think of the flows?
His rapping's better as well. I think his rapping's way better as well.
So you didn't get tired of his rapping in this?
No, there's still some trademark Dave flows.
For sure. It's a Dave album.
Yeah, but I still think he's been sort of honing his craft a little bit, and it shows. I think the first track, We're All Alone, where he has, that line where he goes, "The flights to Santorini, the car's a Lamborghini, the cheese a cheddar, the mozzarella, the fettuccine."
Yeah,
and I was just like, oh shit.
We're gonna start off like that. Okay,
yeah,
we get it.
Like, this ain't psychodrama. This ain't psychodrama.
You've been in the hyperbolic time chamber. But yeah, similar to the album, it starts off with, as you said, We're All Alone, and it starts off by introducing us to a concept of the album. So it's definitely a concept album.
Yeah,
or it tries to be.
What do you see as the concept?
So in Psychodrama, he had the whole kind of psychiatrist, the shrink and the patient dynamic to get the stories off his chest. In this album, he's using a movie medium.
But I feel like the scope is a lot grander in this album.
He picks up on a lot of hard-hitting issues with this album. But I think with that wider net, it loses the overall concept for me, or loses the overall kind of train.
I agree. It's not as tight. It's not as tight as the sequence was on.
I don't think he should have led with the movie concept. It doesn't follow through at all, and I was just like, it's kind of a half-baked concept. Yeah, and he could have done something else, because he does carry some great narratives within this album.
Because of that, I don't really care that the movie concept doesn't exactly work, because
it just bothers me they started with it, and he's not. So he's a perfectionist. I was like.
But he has sort of like the actors, the guy from Get Out, he has him doing sort of excerpts, and they all sort of link quite nicely, enough for me to just be like, the movie thing didn't really work out, but it still links, and it's more of a sprawling bird's eye view picture rather than just that pinpoint focus he had on Psychodrama. But he does sort of look inwardly a lot too. I feel like does both really. One thing I found out about this album is James Blake is all over the production credits, and so is Dave actually. Dave is credited more than anyone else all over this album.
Oh, so he heavily produced this album himself.
Yeah, and I think it really does pay off. It has a lot of these sort of
that'd be all the pianos in every song.
I mean, he's always like the pianos, but I mean, James Blake and pianos, Dave and pianos, it just makes sense. It just makes sense.
It's Dave, isn't it? It's Dave.
James Blake, mate.
It's James Blake. It's James. That's actually what I was trying to go for, but I said Dave's name instead.
And all these melancholic vocal samples, all these piano keys. I feel like the production really does sort of, and the beats sort of evolve over the longer songs. It's not just the same same sort of beats throughout the entire thing, which I appreciate too. It keeps things fresh.
I think the album starts off in a really good way. So We're All Alone is pretty good. It's very mysterious. You're in for a story, you know.
Sets the scene,
Sets the scene. At a certain point, you can hear the percussion turn into kind of a marching drum roll, marching, and you're just
it's quite triumphant, isn't it? It's quite braggadocious.
Yeah, it's stand to salute Dave kind of vibe.
Yeah. And
the people's
it's interesting how over the course of the album he kind of loses that ego.
Gets stripped back a lot.
So that by the time you get to Heart Attack, where it's just him a cappella.
I really like that.
It's all right. It's like sort of him trapping into that drill sound that's, you know, become more trendy since Psychodrama.
Slower pace though.
It's like his take on it, which I quite like. Though I actually prefer, I feel like Clash does the same thing.
Clash is sick. But
I think it does it better.
Stormzy does bits.
Yeah, and I think it kind of matches that sort of vibe where it's sort of heartfelt, but it's also tongue in cheek. Where it's like off the set they storm like they storm like tears. That's what I call morning tears, because you know he stormed off the Good Morning show.
Yeah,
that cracked me up. What I wasn't expecting from a Dave album was the next song, In the Fire.
Like a cypher kind of song.
Yeah, it was like a posse cut, wasn't it? It was like
I loved
just
it.
the beat. It was like it's a lot more colorful and vibrant that you sort of expect from Dave. Like, it's got this sort of soul sample in the background. Who were your favorite verses on that?
Oh man, like Gets,
yeah.
Gets does like all the Game of Thrones references, all of everything. Literally,
he's got so much menace and presence, and the beat is just
he's been tempered, or he's been like forged in the fire, and he's been in the grime scene for so long. One of the best in the scene, in my opinion.
Yeah,
he's just got so much techers, man. You know when he's on a track. What do you think with Gigs on it?
Gigs, you know what? My second favorite verse was Gigs, and I was just sort of like, what the fuck? I'm surprised I liked it as much as I did. He has more
Gigs
flows.
is just doing gigs, isn't it? Gigs is just doing gigs.
But he does gigs, but he has more flows and nuance than I've ever heard him have. Like, I swear to God, I've heard
he's like, fuck, Dave's called me on a track. I need to bring out the A game.
I didn't realize Gigs could go to that level. I was very sort of impressed by the amount of emotion he put into his delivery while still keeping it very Gigs.
Yeah. Do you know what made me laugh? At the end of Gets' bit, when I was first listening, I was like, oh, wait, what's this? You know, Gigs is like teaser sound or like signature. They put it in there. It's like Gigs saying, yeah, or something. I'm like, oh shit, I know what's about to come in now. And then he just comes in. Three Rivers was one of the first tracks to kind of address one of those hard-hitting issues that we want to talk about. So it talks about the wind rush coming through.
It's one of those tracks that could have either ended up really cheesy and pandering or tugging at your heartstrings, and I think it lands. I think it's executed very well. He, each verse he talks about different generations of immigrants. The Windrush generation talks about Eastern Europeans seeking asylum in the 90s. Talks about the Middle East and sort of now COVID and key workers now in each verse and the different struggles. I was very impressed. I was just sort of like, damn.
It's one of the best. Structurally, it's one of the best songs as well. Like there's a very tonal change in instrumental, and even in the outro, he lets you sit with everything he said with that piano outro. It's just like, I've said all my shit, now sit with it with this really beautiful piano, and I'm just like, oh damn.
It just felt very genuine, and that he'd put a lot of detail and effort into it, rather than just being like, oh, let's all love each other. Yeah, it just felt very real.
It's because before you can love, you need to acknowledge what's going on.
Yeah.
No one's really acknowledging what's going on.
Right now, and I rate how he's just calling out Great Britain and sort of how it exploits and treats this immigrant population, really, and how it always has. And the outro, like you said, talking about the tide and how he sort of sums up how this internalized racism seeps into younger generations, where they're trying to sort of become the tide, and instead they have to sort of find their own path.
System, the track after, another tone change. Which feature do you prefer, Wizkid?
I prefer the Lazarus feature, because he just comes in and you're just like, ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, my hips, baby, ooh.
But yeah, Lazarus, it carries on System's vibe, this Afro pop.
I feel like Dave does like the other stuff better.
The flow on the crack cocaine bit was sick. You know, when he switches up his
cocaine, that's exactly what I mean. Yeah. That's what I mean.
Yeah, much better track.
Law of Attraction was the only dud, like the only clear miss on the track list for me.
How so?
Just feels empty and bland. It kind of boring. It kind of feels like a fucking Drake track off Certified Lover Boy. It just feels.
Don't get me fucking started on that album. Do you think they forced the snow feature on it?
I feel like it does feel a bit market testy, doesn't it? It feels a bit. But I don't know. Maybe that's just his vibe. Maybe like I'm not gonna question because he's had tracks like that in the past. So maybe that's just something he likes to do.
Yeah, I thought the feature was pretty solid, but I wouldn't be sad if it wasn't in the album. There are other tracks on this album which cover that narrative much better.
Speaking of which,
both sides of a smile.
Like
this is my favorite track of the album.
Yeah, I think so too. Actually, James Blake has great chemistry. James Blake, mate. It's just James Blake. His angelic vocals and piano keys, they serve as this mournful foundation. Like you're at a beach and Dave is the coast and James Blake is the sea, and he just ebbs and flows in and out of the song.
Imagery. It's heart-wrenching yet uplifting, bittersweet at the same time.
I like how Dave does the female point of view and it transitions to, is it
I literally wrote that down.
Yeah,
but yeah, literally that was that's a spark of genius doing that, and the way she muffles out as well. But it's a breakup song, right? Yeah,
exactly. And it just has so much weight and presence and vulnerability. Like that 8 minutes just
it doesn't feel like 8 minutes.
Because of how engrossing and isolating it feels.
And I love the tone switch up halfway through. Then he starts talking about the good times and actual positive smiles he's had. The other side, the other side of a smile. I guess the first smile was like kind of the brave face you have during a breakup. But yeah, good track. You got that James Blake kind of elevated upper echelon sound, which is just like,
those angelic vocals, mate, and those loops he makes.
He does what he does, and he does it well. Heart Attack, it's got a similar sound to the first half of the album.
There's a lot of pain in this track. I mean, he literally says, every time you hear me freestyle, I put pain in it.
This is like the final rant. He's got
pain with the pain. Yeah,
literally.
He pours his heart out on this one.
Mate, even the instrumental when it cuts out and he's just keep on going. It's like, I'm gonna give you everything. And it's just like, when the movie when like there's a guy and he's just punching someone, but then the guy on the floor, he's already passed out, but he's still punching him.
Stop, he's already dead.
Stop it, bro. He's already dead. Stop it. Stop it.
Again, this is one of those tracks, it doesn't feel like it's as long as it is because it's so engrossing, so vulnerable. Speaking about his experience as being the child of a black single mum who's also, an immigrant from Nigeria. And that outro is, man, that is one of the biggest gut punches.
The mother's skit at the end. Yeah.
That is actually so hard to listen to. For me to listen to, I found it difficult. I don't know how he finds it to hear his own mum.
Yeah, that is his own mum, right?
Yeah. But I guess it really does heighten the emotions of that track. It does really crescendo there.
What do you think of Survivor's Guilt?
I think it sort of brings the album back to where it started. It's sort of this melancholic vocal sample, piano beats, but a lot less bravado than there was at the start. It's more introspection and vulnerable. So I think it's quite fitting. Feels like a nice epilogue, thematically closes everything up. A nice little bow.
I really like the rum and Red Bull line he used.
Oh, yeah.
The kind of concept of survivor's guilt. And then the first track, We're Alone. I feel like, I don't know if I'm trying to force this, but the album's quite circular.
No, I get that.
Okay. It's just the whole album, just a metaphor for where we are right now, which is a destructive circle, just continuously being alone.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's no mistake that he released an album with this title in the middle of a pandemic.
So yeah, favorite tracks?
Favorite tracks for me would be Both Sides of a Smile, Heart Attack, Three Rivers.
For me, it's gotta be In the Fire, Clash, Both Sides of a Smile, and Lazarus.
I think this album delivers on everything I was hoping for after the hype that came back from Psychodrama. As much as I wanted to get behind it because Dave is repping South London, I couldn't quite get behind the hype train. But now I'm on board. I'm on board because he's improved his flows. He's improved his beat making. I feel like he's really doubled down on what makes him unique, which is those 8-minute, 9-minute introspective storytelling tracks of sort of conscious lyrics, and also just how much this album talks about immigrants and the struggles they face in Great Britain. You know, as a child of an immigrant myself, I'm not going to pretend to know about the Black experience and the experience that Dave's had, but there were definitely some beats that sort of connected with me.
There is some overlap there.
Yeah, there is some overlap. So yeah, whilst I didn't like all the tracks on the track list, I definitely think this is an improvement, and I hope he keeps on getting better. So I think a 7.5.
Yeah, so I kind of like mirror a lot of the good stuff you said, so I won't reiterate them. I'll just add, I really appreciate the features that you included. They're really great, and just how hard-hitting the album is too. But he does it in a way which doesn't come off as cheesy or kind of cringe, which is just a great ability in itself. And his vulnerability that he portrays in this album is brilliant. Where the album kind of drops points for me is just the kind of failed opportunity to really build upon the concept that he initiated at the start. So this movie concept, he does the whole kind of concept really well in Psychodrama with the shrink and the patient vibe, and he carries that throughout the album as the medium to tell the stories. And here, that kind of focus is lost in this album, and because of that, I prefer to listen to Psychodrama as a whole than I would this album. I give it a 7.